Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on my Wi-Fi and my Sprinter, so hopefully got a good connection up here. Checking checking my connection at soccer practice. May have to go any second if one of the parents from my travel team reach out to me. But wanted to pop on here tonight and do a little live for the Blessed Tribe. Typically when I do these, if I remember, only the Blessed Tribe can comment because that's just one of their perks from being in the Blessed Tribe. So you got the Blessed Tribe, and then Patreon is outside of this. And wanting to pop on here because I've been getting I get a lot of messages, and to be honest with you, just depending on the day, like sometimes I appreciate getting messages because y'all be serving me the hot tea, and I get to keep up with what's going on because I don't necessarily get to keep up with what's going on because I work from the time I wake up to the time I close my eyes, other than when I'm with my family. So I don't get to keep up with stuff, and I never see anything, but y'all sure make sure I see it. Boy, y'all sure make sure I see it. Now, one thing I never care to see is when somebody talking about me, good or bad. I don't care to see if somebody praising me and Tony was right, nor do I care to see when somebody bashing me. Cause like Mother Teresa say, praise nor criticism should affect you. Because if you give in to one, then the other one gonna get you. But one of the things I see is, shout out to the new members and for gifting a membership. One of the things I see, and I like to watch, just the body of Christ and just the church, and see how, you got guys who they'll show the pastors when they raising funds, when they raising money, they'll show that. And one of the things I've realized too is just in our society with idolatry, and I speak a lot on idolatry, so I really don't get the benefit of being idolized, because I'm always reminding the people who support me to never put anybody on a pedestal. But not everybody sends that message to their audience, and so we so quickly and easily can idolize people, and everybody is perfect until proven imperfect, and everybody is innocent until proven guilty. And so, but there are some of us who can see things in the spirit of discernment before it happens, and we try to give warnings and we try to call it out. But metaphorically speaking, you can be crucified. So if God shows you something that nobody else sees, it's not beneficial to speak on it, because the people will burn you at the stake or lynch you because they cannot see what you see. And what you say could be seen as blasphemy or hating or jealous or whatever it may be. And I seen the situation with the gentleman who was on tour, and I was talking about that tour. I shot a video on this today, but my memory on my phone went out full. My memory on my phone full, and so the video cut off, and I didn't upload it yet because it cut off. But the gentleman was on a tour, and then now some of his cast members is leaving the tour, and one of the cast members was saying that while he was on tour, he was sleeping with the assistants and sleeping with the attendants, the attendees, and sound like she alluded to he was sleeping with a even slept with a handicapped woman in a wheelchair. And now I could look at the gentleman and tell that he nasty and that he got some kinks and like to get freaky. And I could tell that there was no integrity in him in what he was doing. And I spoke to that on a podcast that I did. And most people got it, but some people just thought I was jealous or hating or what have you. And I heard one lady that somebody sent me, she said that I'm jealous of single people giving relationship advice. And that right there, like, I hear some stuff that is so stupid that I just have to laugh. She said, and she used to be on the tour, but I guess I don't know if she got kicked off the tour or if she got slept with. I don't know what happened, but she said that I was jealous of the guy who put the tour on. And that but then when somebody called her out on it and said Tony Gaskins jealous of this guy for what? Like where? How? Then she was like, I didn't say he was jealous of him. I said he was jealous of single people. Give a relation. And so it's like I just kind of like, huh? That's like a rich person being jealous of a broke person giving financial advice. That don't make no sense. I can't be jealous of a single person giving advice. I could be upset about it. I could be upset about the misinformation because I put my heart and soul into this work and don't want people to be deceived. But I'm not going to be jealous of a single person giving relationship advice. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But people who being led by Satan, they will see whatever they want to see, say whatever they want to say. And it's just what it is. But the thing about it is although it seems like there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of lost people in the world, there is also a lot of awakening. A lot of people opening their eyes and starting to see things. And at the same time, there will be a lot of people who don't see things because people need something or someone, not something, because you could believe in God, but people need people to believe in. People want a person that they can see. And a lot of people don't process that they make a human being their God because they cannot see God. So they take the people who say the name of God and make those people a personification of God, but don't really look all the way in and through to see if this person is really living like God. And so we have to be slow to speak. We gotta be slow to pedestalize and praise and idolize. We should never idolize, but we have to be slow to be insurance or justification for human beings. Because as humans, we all are going to have waves of temptation. And you're going to go through a lot of different things, and we're going to struggle in different areas. But anything that is seen as impropriety or a lack of character, a lack of integrity, it can be a black eye to the body. And so where some people may struggle in the area of money, other people may struggle in the area of sexual immorality. And it's typically going to be one or the other or both. Because even with lying and manipulation and deception, if you think about those who lie and deceive and manipulate, what are they using those tactics for? They either trying to manipulate you into sexual immorality, or they trying to manipulate you out of your money. So Satan has made sex and money gods, and those sex and money become gods next to God. And then we have a choice of whether we choose God, sex, or money to be our God. And so when you look at your life, you will notice that you have chosen a God. And your God is either God himself, sexual immorality, or money. It's really nothing else out there. But even with this right here, sometimes the good can be evil spoken of. And sometimes the evil can be seen as good. And we have to be careful, because we can so easily get caught up in ego and power, platform, pedestal. It's easy to get caught up in it. And if you're not mindful and you're not careful, you'll get turned out. And so you got to stay prayerful, and you have to be praying that you can see 2 steps ahead, so that you know what the adversary is going to do, or so that you have the discernment when the adversary does it, you can see it. And so that's what has to be done. And I seen a pastor that right now is in a position of idolization. And he has a long name, but it's a dark-skinned brother out of Atlanta. And he is raising money for his church. And the brother word that I have seen has been on fire. I mean, really, really on fire. But I seen him on a podcast with the Christian rapper. I didn't watch the podcast, but I seen, on YouTube it starts to play when you open it. And so I'm looking at it, but not listening to it. And me as a man, I'm looking at his hands. And his hands, I didn't see a wedding ring. And so that right there was an alarm to me, to say, okay, if he married, a married man should always have a ring on. Always. This my left hand. A married man should always have a ring on. Never should we take our ring off. And then if he not married, then no one should be getting excited about a servant of the Lord. Because if a man is not married, because what was David? I think the brother named Mitchell. Dark skinned brother. And I thought I saw a clip where it say he went to prison. Was in Rikers or somewhere. Now I was a drug dealer. Okay, Philip Anthony Mitchell. I was a drug dealer. Not a big one. Not one Bumpy Johnson or Frank Lucas. But I never been to prison. Now me personally, I know a lot of people who have gone to prison. I don't necessarily trust ex-convicts, Because if you did enough to go to prison, I gotta see enough to see rehabilitation. And so I take my time with that, because sometimes the seeds that sent us to prison is still there. And so I have to take my time with that. I also am slow to trust men who are either unmarried or don't wear a wedding ring. I'm very slow. But I see this fanfare and this idolization. And this is what people will call me hating. They'll call that hating. But see, I just pay attention to things, and what I do is I go into prayer for people, and I say, Lord, okay, so y'all say married. Now see, me personally, if I see 5 to 10 clips of a man who is married, I need to hear wife somewhere in there. I need to hear wife somewhere in there. Yeah, I ain't heard nothing, no talk about the wife. If I see some stuff right there, I need to see wife standing up there when we trying to raise 20 million. I need to see wife up there. And so that right there, I say, here we go again. Because see, we be the problem. We be the problem. Oh, okay. Well, I sure need to hear about it. And if he married, he need to have on a wedding ring. And I don't know the brother, but tell him I said it. No, you need no tattoo. I want to hear nothing. He like wearing jewelry because he got a necklace on. He wear a necklace. Every time I seen him, he had a necklace. So if you could wear a necklace, you could wear a ring. And so that's the thing right there, is that right there, that sounds an alarm with me. And so that sounds an alarm. And you got to love your wife the way Christ loved the church. So if Christ can take stripes for the church and be crucified, then why we can't wear a ring and be uncomfortable? I don't like wearing a ring either, because I have to take it off, and so I scratch my face when I wash my face. I be scratching my forehead with this ring, because these is Cartier rings. So you hear that? Them Cartier rings. So I be scratching my face, and then lotion, and if I'm moving fast, I have to take it off the lotion. So then I forget. So then I got the lotion in my hand, and then the lotion all up under the ring. But see, one thing I do know is, if your ring is your armor. You can't talk about, oh, this is spiritual and I'm married and it's a spiritual thing and a ring don't stop nothing. The ring stop a lot. That's why we got it. The ring stop a lot. It's just like a police wearing a bulletproof vest, or having a gun and having a nightstick. That ring stop a lot, because it let a woman know I'm married. But if a woman don't see that ring, then she could come up and shoot her shot, or give you a lot of eyes on you. And so that's the thing. And I seen one little clip where he said something about he have to worry about lust or something like that. But one thing that I could tell is that it's a very fine line. It's a very fine line, because you have to take and see that you're very careful, because the clip that I was looking at, the brother was saying they was about to get put out of their church because they got too many people, and so they needed to either get another location or they need the favor to be able to stay in their location. And then I seen a clip where he said they got their favor, so they gonna get to stay somewhere for 2 more years. Stay there for 2 more years. And then they in arm's reach of the $7 million to buy a building. And then it's gonna cost another $12 million or $13 million to fix the building up. And so they're going to be working on raising that over them next 2 years. And now see, and that's the thing right there. That's where the test come when we serving God. The test come with, why do I need a $20 million building when I got Zoom? When I could have whatever building I could get, and whoever can't get in got to come to the second service or the third service or the fourth service, or they got to watch on Zoom. And until God say, here go the money, this what I got for you. And now whatever God got for you, that's going to happen. It's going to be seamless. And so that's what you got to realize. No, Blanca, they didn't have to raise money to stay. They had to have favor that the people will sign the contract. I watched the video myself. So they wasn't running out of money. They got money. They got money. They needed favor to be able to stay there because they had people trying to put them out. And so this is where the test comes, and this where you have to see when you taking and when you in leadership, because it's very easy for your good to be evil spoken of, and it's very easy to get caught up in that power and having the ability to raise $20 million, $7 million for a building, and 13 more million to fix it up. And then also we know, everybody who knows construction companies, if a construction company about to come into 13 million, it's finna be some misappropriation by that construction company, unless Jesus is the general contractor. I got a real estate development company, and we building a house right now, and I'm working with my homeboy, so that's how I know. And I'm working with my homeboy who did 6 years in prison for somebody trying to scam him, and he sought retaliation when we was in our 20s, before his life was changed for the better. And so I already know he know how it go down if you mess with money. So, but I know every other contractor. So now here's the thing. Now pastors getting in position to raise millions and millions of dollars from congregation of majority broke people. And so this is where we have this, and this is how we who are in these positions get tempted and tested. So that's why I go to praying, because we need every leader to be able to stand through them tests. And we can't get caught up in what we did right in the past and our integrity and how we are and who we are, because them tests get greater, and it gets greater, and it gets greater. And so now here's the thing is, So that's why I be on here preaching. And that's why I ain't opened my church yet. First and foremost, because my family is my first ministry, and my sons play every weekend. And so I don't have the time at this stage to give to a church that it would need. And so when y'all see these brothers out here that's doing these tours, these pastors, make sure that you don't idolize, but instead you pray. And pray for their strength. Pray for their wisdom. Pray for their temperance. Pray for their covering. Pray for their discernment. Because the mistake that we make is we put humans on pedestals. And we idolize humans. Just like somebody in here got blocked. Talking about not too much on pastor now. Carry them on. Not too much on pastor now. That's the idolization right there, because every human ought to be able to be spoke on. No human is above being spoke on. Carry. So if you come on my page, know that I'm going to speak on any and everybody that I want to speak on. And ain't nobody going to stop me. Because I'm going to speak what the Lord is showing me. And I'm going to teach a lesson from what the Lord is showing me. So when you come in the chat, if you don't know what's going on, be quiet and listen. And if you can't be quiet and listen, then leave. Because the warnings have to go out. Because what y'all don't realize is these people, these tour curators, these pastors, they know exactly who I am. They get sent my videos. They watch my videos. So if I don't know them personally and I'm teaching a lesson for the body, they get that lesson too. And that's how we hold one another accountable before something goes wrong. It ain't even about going to somebody because something has gone wrong, because ain't nothing gone wrong. So we have to be thinking ahead and praying for wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and discernment. And so for me, that right there that worries me. Because for one, I'm a man. Two, I'm a former criminal as well. And so when I hear a man of God say they got to get a church for 7 million, and then another, I can't remember if the number was 12 or 13 million to refurbish it. And then I'm wondering, like, now how, if you don't have the building and you're not in the building, how do you know so exact that number to refurbish it? And how does the refurbishment of the building cost twice what the building costs? And as a good steward, do you want those headaches? Because you have to think about this. If you buy a house for $50,000 and it's gonna cost you $100,000 to put into the house, what is the state of the house you bought? That house probably got termites and mold and asbestos. So now let's think about the millions. If you buy a house for 1 million and it's gonna cost you 2 million to fix it up, I'm not sure I want to make that move. I ain't sure I want to make that move. But now, and see, this the thing, this what you have to realize is This the stuff we have to analyze because it's get put out there on the World Wide Web. And so people will hear you analyzing it and they'll get mad, and now you are a hater for analyzing public information and just saying, okay, so you just supposed to just hear whatever and just not even think about it for yourself, because you got to open your pocketbook, you got to open your wallet. And so you have to think about that, because you got to be able to think and say, well, okay, now I don't want to cast pearls to swine. I don't want to sow bad seeds. So now, are we thinking about this here thing the right way? And is this what we really need to do? And because if this the board decision alone, now have we sent out a poll to the body who donating to say, do y'all want this building? Because y'all is the ones who gonna pay for it. Now, if the board making the decision, the board need to put their own money up. And see, this what I'm talking about when you're in leadership roles. It's a lot that come with it. It's a lot that come with it. Didn't realize the depth of what you were speaking on until I saw it myself when Anthony O'Neill, Shawnee, and Keon visited our church here in San Diego, California, and it completely awakened me to false prophets. Yeah, you have to think about that. I mean, you have to think about, that's why I try to tell y'all when these people team up, because if they all done did something or living in a way that's not pleasing to God, then they all team up. And because they team up because they want to justify. They want to justify. And yes, he wasn't really providing the right numbers. It was acting on a lot of emotions. And that's the thing. So it's like, you can't be a pastor not providing the right numbers. So I'm sure he would say he provided the right numbers, because he's not going to get up in the pulpit and lie as a man of God. And you also not going to be overridden by emotions as a man of God, because you're going to be operating from the Holy Spirit, which is measured and does not make mistakes. When you under the Holy Spirit, you don't make mistakes. When you under your own cognizance and you speaking on your own outside of the Holy Spirit, you can be overridden by emotions. And so that's what you have to think about. And so, and this is the thing where what happens with us in the church. And that's why, so what happens is, the bills keep billing and they keep building. And so that's what happens where I seen a clip of Marvin Sapp telling his church that it's their job to take care of him, that they need to study the word and see that it is their job to take care of him. And so, and that sounded manipulative, like, oh, y'all not giving enough money, y'all need to give more money. And then he had a whole chant for the tithes and offering time. But then these same pastors be reminding the church of their Bentleys and Rolls Royces and jets, and that they had that before the church or outside the church. And they try to they all say the same thing. They all say, I make money outside of the church. Well, it's like, if you make money outside of the church, then why is you spending 15 minutes begging in the church? If you make money outside of the church, then give some of that money to the church so you can stop begging people who are just over the poverty line to empty their purse. And see, that be the thing. So the way that I do it is, if I'm raising funds, I'll state a need. I'll state that I'm raising funds and what I'm doing with the funds, but I don't state a number. I don't focus on a number, because I don't want the people to feel obligated to hit a number. I trust God to touch the hearts of the people to be a blessing to the level that he knows I can handle. Instead of me stating a number and saying we need to raise X amount of millions to do this here, we say, hey, we need to raise money for a building. And now wherever that money hit, whenever you tired of raising and you got to move, what your accounts say, that's the size building that God wants you to have. So if you get 2 years on your lease, and after 2 years you got $4 million, that means God don't have a $13 million, $12 million renovation for you. He got a $4 million renovation for you. So that means you're going to have to scale down some of the LED screens. You're going to have to scale down some of the bells and whistles. And you're going to have to be the Book of Acts, but inside a building. And then now you in the building, and it ain't $12 million refurbished, but it's $4 million. You got lights, you got water, you got toilets, you got somewhere to sit. And now over the next 5-10 years, you keep raising, and you just section off different parts, just like the airport do. When you go to the airport, and this section right here that they refurbishing is closed off, so you got to take this other side over here. You got to go this other side, and then when they get to doing this side, now you got to take that side, and that's how you do that. But see, the thing about it is, and I seen this one time with a business guy. One time. He came in and he prided himself on never asking for nothing. And then, but the goal was he wanted to be a New York Times bestseller. So when it was time to be a New York Times bestseller, for his name, for his brand, for his ego, then that's when he finally made his ask. And then after that, that's when the ask, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so we all have to go through that cycle of like, not asking. And then we ask. And so that happens with sexual immorality. When these men get a woman and it's a woman friend and they not asking for sex. And then they just keep building. They getting friends. And then one night, things just get a little too hot and bothered. And then they make that ask. And then that ask destroys them. It changes everything. And so this is what you got to think about. Even what we do with our pastors is we put them on such a pedestal and we pedestalize them. And then we dump so much money. Money gonna change everybody, because it's gonna change where you live, it's gonna change what you drive, it's gonna change what you wear. And then from there, now you always need that money. Because now, if you got all of this here, we got so many mega pastors. Guess what? I remember going to a church and the pastor told us in the congregation, he say our rent or our mortgage is $80,000 a month. And I remember talking to another pastor and they said, man, that pastor over there signed a deal that was so bad. That interest was so high. Guess what? That pastor ended up losing that church. Because you could get into something and that don't mean that it was God that got you in it. It was you being on a pedestal that allowed you to get in it. But see, the thing about it is, what people don't realize is God know your heart and he know your plans before you open your mouth. And what you can handle is what he gonna bless you with. And so what the devil does is he try to set us up, because he say, I'm gonna take and I'm gonna move out the way, and I'm gonna let everybody, I'm gonna let everybody pedestalize these mega pastors, and I'm gonna let them get on a pedestal, and I'm gonna let them get used to the money and the fame and the riches, or just the influence, just being able to wave a finger and raise hundreds of thousands. And then next thing you know, he gonna get intoxicated with it. And see, let me tell you what's happening right now. Let me tell you what's happening right now. A lot of churches, a lot of mega churches is going broke. So when you go to these channels that review, they review because let me ask you this right here. Let me ask you this. And this just a question for you. This not a question for me. Now, don't put the answer in the chat. How much money do you have in your checking account right now? So I want you to think about your checking account. Okay? Think about your checking account. And next, after you think about your checking account, I want you to count your bills that are due. Count your bills that's due. And now I want you to think about the church up the street. They got lights for you, they got water for you, they got a bathroom for you, and they got a word for you. And they might have food for you. But look at your checking account, and then look at your bills. How much money can you give to the church? How much money can you give to the church? That's why these churches are now going broke. Because when you go to church, you may say, man, listen, I'm coming in here every Sunday. If you give 100 every Sunday, that's 400 a month. How much is, what kind of bill is that? Like, that's a big bill. So guess what's the first thing people gonna cut out when times get tough? Donations. That's the first thing. They're going to cut out donations. So that is why we are seeing an uptick in pastors spending more time on the fundraisers. But see, here's the thing right here. This is what you got to realize. Is these pastors, what they're gonna do is, what they have to do is, now they have to have a physical goal, because it gets tiring of just saying, hey, give, because God gonna bless you if you give. That get tiring. So you have to say, we raising money for a building, we raising money for refurbishment, we raising money for the fires in California, we raising money for the hurricane victims. And so now that's going to play on the hearts of the people, and the people going to say, okay, I know I've been cutting back on my tithes and offering, but now I'm going to go ahead and give, because this is for something physical. But then when they give something for that thing physical, we don't get to see what the church do with it. Because then when the money come in for the fires in California, the church may say, well, the church really didn't give all of this for the fires. They was just giving normally, like our normal tithes where we were at was 100,000 a week, and we've been just getting 50,000 a week. So now we done raised 125,000, but all that wasn't for the fires, because this really is us just starting to climb back to our normal tide. So we're gonna keep we're gonna keep 100,000, and then we're gonna send 25,000 to the fires. And so that right there is that's a Jamal Bryant type of scheme right there. And so I'm starting to notice that when the country is in a recession, the false prophets in a recession. The false church is going to be in a recession when the country go in a recession, because if people tight, people not finna be giving money. And so this is where the real from the fake is going to be separated, because who God called, he is going to sustain. Who he did not call, eventually is going to get exposed. And so, but one thing they will have now is they will have the mortgage paid or the rent paid, and the church will never go out of business. It's always, the pastor might have to cut back a little bit, but he always gonna be able to pay for that church. That's gonna be taken care of. You notice you never see a church for rent or for sale unless the church then moved up. But you rarely see a church go out of business. Now I seen the church, one of them go out, the one I'm telling you about with an $80,000 a month mortgage. They shut down because folks went through hard times and stopped giving. They went through hard times, or maybe it was COVID. And so we have to be mindful I don't know. What my mama talking about. And so what we also gonna see, my mama sending me this thing. She's sending me Lateris on a podcast with Jamal Bryant. And that right there is what I'm talking about. Now I don't know when that's from, when that was, but that's what I'm talking about right there. So you see a man who went through a divorce, another man that went through a divorce. These men known for infidelity, fornication. So what do? They come together, not to hold one another accountable, but to team up and say, hey, y'all don't attack me, because here go another man of God that's just as flawed as me. And so that's what these teaming up stuff is about. That's what you're going to continue to see. You're going to see the people who wallowing in sin teaming up. And then for those of us that call it out, then we self-righteous or whatever. And so the pastor in Atlanta that I'm talking about, that's what the clip, that the one I was watching, I wasn't watching no sound. I just was looking and just reading, that they body language. And I do that sometimes. I could see a person, but the clip that I heard, the brother was talking about, people was saying that like he self-righteous, or like coming down too hard on people. And I'm the same way. But it's different when you online and you that way versus when you in the pulpit. See, when you're a pastor, you get more grace to come down hard on people. When you not a pastor and you come down hard on people, then you jealous and you hating. But so that's just the difference of it. But the thing about that though And this what I tell everybody, and this the same thing like with the rapper D1. You know, he started calling out these rappers and all of that. And then it came out and y'all told me that somebody asked him, is he abstinent? And he said he's struggling with that. Like he, you know, basically that he fornicate sometime. And I was like, you see there? That's what I'm talking about. The louder that we are, the more spiritual warfare we go through. So right now, I'm in a season of rest. But I went through spiritual warfare over the last couple years. Couple years ago, I went through spiritual warfare. For a year or two, I was in spiritual warfare. And I showed up on here every day. And it was only a few people that could tell it. But I was in spiritual warfare and going through an attack. But that's because I'm loud. That's because I'm a voice. But now when you resist the devil, he'll flee. But he don't flee forever. He come back. You got to resist him again. So my dad would always say to me growing up, he say, in a time of peace, prepare for war. So right now, I'm in a season of rest because I was in war for a couple years. Imagine being deployed in war, in active war, not just deployed sweeping floors in Afghanistan, but you in the trenches, you moving, stealth, war plan, you going to hunt and kill. Imagine being at war for 2 years straight. And we ain't talking about real war, because sometimes they be there longer than that. But imagine being in spiritual warfare every single day, day in, day out. Day in, day out, and the whole world counting on you. The world counting on you, and you got to show up, and everybody putting their problems on you, but you got all your problems of your own. And that's what spiritual leaders go through. And that's why we see so many fall. Because if you're not prayed up, and if you're not seeking the face of God, you can fall. And so here's the thing. I just seen a clip where the brother who was raising that money, I'm guessing it was some content creators who raised their eyebrows. And so he went into the pulpit the next service to clarify what he was saying. And he was saying that he was praying for a miracle, but not money. But it's open-ended. So if you state we might get put out, and this building costs this many million, and that building costs that many million, and then in this other building we get to stay for 2 years, but it's gonna cost us X amount of hundreds of thousands to refurbish it, it just sounds like you talking about money. So then what happens is people will raise an eyebrow. And because they raised that eyebrow, he had to go back and address it and say, this is what I meant. But guess what? He needed that. Because had it not made people say, huh, he could have went on off in the deep end. So what God does is God will take in, he'll let the critics say what they say, because we make little changes. We'll make little changes based on it, because then we'll say, oh, my good was evil spoken of. So now I need to make sure I slow down and I clarify. Oh, I got too comfortable. Got too beside myself. And sometimes it's one person. It happened to me right here. I'll be on here. I get too comfortable. And I become just, I'm just doing too much. And then somebody will say, somebody will write me and say, oh, my feelings was hurt, or this right here, that right there, and then I feel a conviction and I say, I have to word that differently. I gotta pause now. I gotta make sure that I'm teaching, and if I'm teaching and I'm being authentic, and it happens to be teaching and funny, then it'll be teaching and funny. But I got to make sure that I remind myself that I'm not a comedian. So this ain't nothing I do or say is about jokes. It's about a lesson with medicine. I mean, medicine with a little bit of candy. Meaning we might have us a little laugh. And so I thought about that. And, and the Lord, he'll remind me, okay, yeah, stay measured. Stay measured. Stay calm. Keep using discernment, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and speaking from that place. Don't speak from folly. Don't speak from foolishness. Don't speak from jesting. Speak from a place of wisdom. And if that can bring laughter at the same time, then it works out. But don't focus on the laughter. Focus on the message. And so we'll get those the little tinge in the spirit. And then it'll just reel us back in. So now, when the clip I watched, because it was a brother, one of y'all sent me the video, he corrected it. And said, I was praying for a miracle. And then he had to remind the people, he said, I'm the person that did a sermon in a arena and didn't take up tithes. Now see, the thing about that is sometimes this the thing what messes us up when we true men and women of God is the devil will send somebody to do the same thing. Give without asking, and then they will do a very big ask, and that ask turns out to be a Ponzi scheme or a scam. So then when a child of God comes and they do a sermon on the mount, a sermon in the arena, and they don't take up tithes, and they preaching sermons and they not taking up tithes, but then they come with a $20 million ask, or 12 million, 13 million, 4 million. Like Pastor Keon Henderson, he came and he asked for 4.4 million. And he probably has done a lot of giving in his city. A lot of giving, a lot of sowing. But then when you come to ask, people, everybody, oh no, nah. Oh no. You on your third marriage. What are you gonna do with this 4.4 million? Can I trust 4.4 million with a third marriage man? So then the question starts to come. And it's just because of integrity. So the same thing is like the people who question the pastor, that's they right. The pastor, Philip Anthony Mitchell, because if I heard correctly, he was in Rikers. And I don't know if it was for a violent crime or a white collar crime or whatever it was. But black people who come from around people who done went to prison, we know everybody who go to prison find Jesus or Allah. So when they come out and they preaching to everybody, we just don't all of a sudden say, oh, they the real deal. Like he a real Muslim or he a real Christian. No, we still gonna take our time and we want to see. We want to see. Do you stay off the block? Is you staying away from the dope house? Is you staying away from the hookers and the strippers? Is you doing the right thing? And we okay with rehabilitation, but we need time before you come. Because if you just come and then boom, you preaching, then you say boom, hey, can I borrow $1,000? We're like, oh, hold on, but you just got out of Rikers now. Hold on now. Hold on now. What you doing? What you doing? So that's what you're supposed to do. You will be under the spirit of idolization if somebody stands before you and says we need to raise millions for this building and you don't ask a question and you don't look within, because see, a 501c3, that's public. So the public get to see what a 501c3 do with the money. So you would be foolish to not ask. It's nothing wrong with saying, hold on, do we really need this? Like, we all fitting in here right now in this particular building. And that's the other thing, is like some things don't make sense to people who thinking, because we in a recession. Businesses going out of Google tonight. Google major businesses that have went into major businesses that have closed. Sports Authority, Blockbuster, Borders, Toys R Us, Dress Barn, Pier 1 Imports, Steinmart, American Apparel, Art Van Furniture, Models Sporting Goods, Payless Shoe Store. Man, I ain't realized Payless went out of business. But my mama used to tear that Payless up. Radio Shack. I used to always be in Radio Shack. Barney's in Barney's, New York. Saks Fifth Avenue. Barney's, New York. Century 21. Circuit City. I used to be in Circuit City all the time. So you see what I mean? So major businesses going out of business. Big Lots, Macy's, heard Bank of America, richest bank in the country, closed 100 branches. So for us to be in a recession, it doesn't add up if somebody say these people kicking us out of their commercial building that we paying buku dollars to them. That don't add up to me. Why somebody kick you out their building? Now, code and all of that, but they knew that when you coming in there. They know how many seats in there. They know if you got 6,000 seats and you got all these parking spots, that it's finna be jumping. Like, that's already understood. So the thing about it is we have to make it make sense. It's like, okay, listen, we ain't doubting. But we got to make this make sense, because everybody pockets tight. Everybody going out of business. So we got to make this make sense. And so, okay, all right. Yeah, all right. Now with a little bit of explaining. Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's come together. Let's help out. Let's help out. And so that's all it is. So we can't get offended. I got a 501c3, and I put my donation form in now in the description box of every video. And when we start the summer program, and I'm taking the boys around the country, you're going to see it. You're going to see it on video. You're going to see it on my page. We trying to produce a docu-series for YouTube. You're going to meet the boys, meet their families. And guess what? Every parent I talk to about this program, and let them know that we're not just doing basketball, but I'm going to help your son do a logo, do his .com, do his LLC, do his 501c3. He's going to be emotionally intelligent. He's going to be financially literate. He's going to know how to take care of himself. He's going to have life skills. He's going to know how to make millions of dollars off the court. He's going to know how to use his gifts for the rest of his life, even when the ball stops bouncing. Every parent is like, I've never heard that. Never heard another team tell us that. And when I did the budget, my finance guy, who blesses me and sows into me, he had me do a budget. And the overall budget, without even including staff, was $250,000 just for this summer. So, but if you notice on my fundraiser, I don't have that $250,000 on there. And they had a button that say set your goal and set your like goal marker to where I could have set that number 250 and I could have set the little goal marker. I could have set that, but I kept that off because I say I don't want to ask my audience to help me raise $250,000 for my purpose. So if I only raise $5,000, then that let me know God gonna do the rest through me, or he gonna send somebody else around me in the bush. But I'm not gonna put this pressure or this onus on the people who got bills to pay, and they skipping their bills because I got this big number that I need to raise dangling in front of their face. No, I got to stay where God got me at until he elevate me. And so that's what I be wanting really these pastors to understand, to where God wants you. You might not even have to ask your congregation. God could give you favor with an atheist like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk to write you a check. Like, you don't have to ask people who barely above the poverty line, who struggling, who taking care of kids by themselves, who trying to make ends meet. And this is the thing with the church that's so unfair is, and that's so wrong, is a lot of times these people in position, like the pastors that they showing, like the old school pastors. I ain't talking about the brother Philip out of Atlanta, but the old school pastors, the mega pastors that's been there and been mega pastors. If you listen to some of their stuff, they go to twisting the arm. God can't move in your house. God can't do nothing for you if you can't do nothing for his house. And based on what you give, God trying to get millions to you. God trying to get millions to you, but you got to open your purse. And then what happens is people get guilted into giving. And so they giving almost like they playing the lotto or like they on a slot machine. And they will skip their bills. And this is what men of influence understand. Some of these men of influence understand this, but they ignore it and don't care, because money has become their God instead of God being their God. And so when money becomes their God, they don't care that there are women who will skip their light bill, skip their rent to give money to the church, and then be about to get evicted and then have to spin the block and come back to the church and say, hey, I need help for my kids or for my rent. And then the church say, we don't do that, because if we help you with your rent, we got to pay everybody rent. And if we did that, we wouldn't be able to have a church. So unfortunately, we're going to need you to trust God. But the pastors, so many of them did not trust God. Instead, they stood in the pulpit and manipulated people into giving. And they twist arms to get people to give instead of trusting God. And so I've been talking to God, because I say, it's something, Lord. I say, you know my heart and you know what I want to do. And God say, cast a wide net. He said, don't try to go through and depend on who I've always had helping you, because some people only want to help you to a certain point. And if they feel like you getting too big and you getting too ambitious and you building too much legacy and you operating with too much purpose, they will remove their help because they think they are your God. So take them out of the equation. After you done ask them, let them do what they're going to do. And I'll soften their heart to do what they're going to do. And then after that, I want you to sit and I want you to listen to me, and I want you to hear the vision. And I want you to be resourceful, and I want you to be humble, and I want you to be okay to start where you have to start at. Because your vision may be here, at the mountaintop, but I need you to be okay in the valley. I need you to be okay in the wilderness. I need you to be okay with a church that can't seat everybody you want to seat for your ego. I need you to be okay with understanding that some people going to have to come to a second, third, or fourth, or fifth service. But I need to see that you faithful enough to do 5 services instead of just wanting a big enough building so you could get everybody in there in 1 or 2 services. Do 5. Show that you are willing. Do 5 a day then. If you so big, do 5 a day. Serve who you got to serve. Do it at the library. Do it at this gym. Do it at this gym. So I'm listening to the Lord, and I'm sitting and I'm like, okay, I got to make sure my ego don't want this. I got to make sure that this is what God got for me and not what I want, so that I can feel big and successful and be looked at. Because God might not want me in a $10 million gym, community center, right out the gate. God might want me using a room at the already established community center for 2 or 3 years. And then after I have shown my faithfulness, he may send a blessing and an opportunity to where somebody stroke a check. Just like that right now. Because you've been faithful. So a lot of time we want to move at our pace, and we want to do things at our pace, and we want to do things for our ego. We want this house for our ego. We want this car for our ego. We want this job, this title, this position for our ego. And God said, I want you in the wilderness. Like John the Baptist and Jesus was. I want you in the valley. I want you to be unconventional. I want you to have to be able to do it against all odds. I want you to make something out of nothing. Don't worry about comfort and convenience. Be okay being inconvenienced. Be okay being uncomfortable. Be okay being diligent. Be okay doing double time. Don't say I done did 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. It's time for me to be at the highest. 1,000 years is likened unto one day unto the Lord. So you might have done, I've been doing what I've been doing 15 years. The Lord might say, I need you to do 30 years before I do what I'm going to do for you. I need you to do 45 years before I'm going to do what I'm going to do for you. I need to make sure I'm giving you time to be developed in the dark. I'm giving you time. Because see, one thing about what God do is he don't just elevate us overnight. See, if you notice, a lot of speakers and teachers and influencers that get exposed, they blew up in a couple years. It was 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Think about it. Think about the relationship coaches that's getting exposed. I was the first relationship coach online to go viral online. The very first relationship coach. And there's been no scandals on me. But when you think about the other guys that there's been scandals on, they got more followers than me in less amount of time. You never thought about that, did you? And so the carnal people, the people who don't know God and how God works, they will say, Tony's speaking out against these people because he's jealous because they have more followers. What they don't realize, I know that those followers are not from God. Those followers from Satan. And I know that Satan gonna put a size 12 shoe in their back when they get to the top of the mountain, and he gonna kick them off. And everybody that heard them say the name of God as a false prophet got to watch them fall to their proverbial death. And now everybody who idolized them and pedestalized them, they falling right with them. They lose their faith in good. They lose their faith in God. They lose it because they rush this man to the top, and they pedestalized him and they idolized him and they fought for him and they cussed everybody out for him, and didn't realize that that wasn't God's elevation, because God will have you in the wilderness and in the valley longer than you want to be there, so that you can be consecrated to no end, so that when he elevates you, you are stripped bare. When God elevates you, none of what the world cares about means anything to you anymore. See, I still have not experienced God's elevation. What you're seeing is man-made. The level that I'm at today is just based on what happens when you diligent and you consistent. God's elevation still has not happened in my life. He has sustained me, but he's still preparing me. He drops in my spirit every day what I need to get right before he elevates me. Every single day. And he shows me the clock and say, I'm giving you time. I'm giving you time. I'm giving you time. Get this right here in order. Get this right here in order. Get this right here in order before the time is up. See, and I'm going to be honest with you. I have 3.5 million, what they call followers. I say supporters, even though less than 0.5% actually are supporters. And people didn't know that. Everybody think like whatever your following is, 10% of them buy all your products. Less than 0.5% actually support you by like buying what you selling. Less than 0.5%. Sometimes it might be 0.01%, like 0.1% is actually, when you get into the millions of people online, you may have 0.1% that actually buys your product. And the reason being is because everybody else who has a scarcity mindset thinks that 10% of your people is buying your product. So they say, I don't want to add no more money to his or her pocket, so I'm going to go without this course or go without this book, because I don't want to make somebody rich while I'm broke. And so that be the mindset. So because of that mindset, that's a mindset of 99.9% of people. So therefore, it's never, I hear it all the time. People come to me and they're like, man, Tony, you should start this, man, you should start this, you should start this. And if just 10% of your audience buy it, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, you never built the audience, have you? You never built an audience. You never tried to sell anything to said audience, have you? Because it's less than 8%. And so what happened, what I realized is God still has not elevated me. He has sustained me. He has graced me. But this is what you got to realize. The devil can't do what God can do in its entirety. So if you see a man who has the same amount of followers of me and he don't serve God, that lets you know that I'm still not in God's elevation season. Because when God elevates me, it's not going to be any comparison. But I'm 40 years old. So in the eyes of God, I'm still young. And what God needs me to do, he probably could do it through me in 1 year. So if God say, Tony, I'm going to call you home at 90, he may wait till 89 to elevate me. He might wait till my last speech, the last time I open my mouth, might be the Sermon on the Mount that delivers millions. And that might be my last breath. So what I pray for is contentment. What I pray for is strength, wisdom, faith, courage. So now I'm going into a season of boldness. So that's why you hear me calling names and making specific examples, because what God said to me, Tony, I did not give everybody your level of discernment. And that's why I call you to speak to these things, so that those who are blind might see, and those who are ignorant will cry out for your crucifixion. But in due season, they will see that what you said came to pass. And so even like with this young man who's on tour, who he worked for the devil, he don't work for God. Everybody saying Tony was right. Tony was right. Tony was right. It wasn't me that was right. I was just speaking common sense of if what you're doing isn't the work of God, then it's the work of Satan. Point blank period. And the work of Satan does not have longevity. It's going to fizzle out. The children of God are going to be enlightened. They're going to see, oh, you a wolf in sheep's clothing. But hey, I got to get ready to go. It's after 9 o'clock, so I know my son going to be coming anytime here soon. And I like to cut off this here Sprinter a little bit, let that diesel exhaust chill out before he get in, because sometimes he come in here with him and then he always be choking on it when he go to get in, that diesel fluid. So listen, everything I say tonight, I said measured. And I said for people to think about these things, and what I want people to understand is we have to be very careful of idolizing influencers, whether that's a pastor, a podcaster, a YouTuber. We got to be careful. Let God be God. Don't put a man or a woman before God. You don't need a physical representation of God. God is a spirit. Know God for yourself. And don't let any human become your idol. Evaluate everything that come out of our mouth. Take everything to God in prayer. So just because a pastor you love stand up and say, we doing this building fund, that don't mean that that's your command. Go to God and say, Lord, do you want me to sow into this? Lord, is this your will? Lord, is you calling this here move? Is this good ground that you want me to sow into? And that's what you do with every single one of us. But see, a lot of time what people do is just say, oh, this person is handsome or beautiful or smart or charismatic or well spoken. So if they say they raising money, or they need this, or they need that, or they selling this ticket for this tour, oh, I'm going. And we idolize and we pedestalize and we worship humans. And that's how we get led astray. So you got to take your time. Pray for people and ask God that they are not able to pray on people. And you'll see what God got. And the thing about it is, there is no finish line. Because we live for eternity, and it's going to be in heaven or hell. So even when we close our eyes for the final time, there still could be stuff that come out on us when we dead. And what come out on us could be a lie. It could all be lies.
It was Reluctance to Train, actually, a good session.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's funny, like, whenever you don't want to train the most is when you have the most fun.
I know it. So what's the life lesson?
Alright, we're not doing this right.
Yeah, what's the life lesson?
Okay.
When you go, when you don't want to go, that's when you get what he got for you.
This guy.
Ain't no traffic on the extra mile.
Oh my gosh. This guy.
You see what I'm saying?
I just gave you an alley-oop.
Yeah, you gave me an alley-oop. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So that's where you got to remember. Your comfort is in your uncomfort zone. You feel me? Hey, y'all, God bless you. Got to go. My son got in here, so I'm going to get him on home so we can get him a little rest. God bless you. We'll talk soon. Say hey to the people.
What's up, guys?
God bless you. We'll talk.